Oh, and it's not that today President Biden flew to Italy to attend the annual G7 summit. Or as Fox News put it, Biden flees country after a hunter convicted.
Ah, yes. Those hilarious late-night hosts. I tell you, New York City, there is some talk, I played it yesterday, of the Washington, D.C. being taken away from the Democrats and handed to Congress. Maybe New York City should fall into the same basket. Can't seem to maintain a civilized Western metropolis. I think Meir Kahane, anybody remember Meir Kahane and the Jewish Defense League, the JDL? Bunch of tough guys. If you had crazy loudmouth anti-Semites like Al Sharpton and stuff, the Crown Heights riots, the Jewish Defense League would send a bunch of big, strong, tough guys out there, and they'd beat the hell out of the anti-Semites. And I think they should start patrolling the New York City subway trains and going to the campuses. Maybe it's time to take civilization back. Take back civilization. And remember normal. Talking to one of our brilliant callers a short time ago. I tell you, it's time to, maybe remember normal. Remember normal would be a good thing, which we have, of course, at the Chris Plant store. T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of other fun stuff, too. The Democrat Party is mad, and they're not on our side. This has been the case for a long time, honestly. I'm telling you. Now, the Democrats, they're terrified because, President Trump is on Capitol Hill today, and that's where January 6th took place. Now, of course, at the White House, the Democrats attacked the White House for 3 days in 2020. It was in May and June. It was the end of May and the beginning of June, if I remember correctly, in 2020. They injured 160 to 180 police officers between the Uniform Division of the Secret Service and the U.S. Park Police and the D.C. Metropolitan Police. They attacked and they brought M80s, which is an eighth of a stick of dynamite. They brought frozen water bottles. They were hurling all kinds of things. They were assaulting the U.S. Park Service guy in Lafayette Park just the other day on Saturday. And my best girl and I were there, and they were spray painting the monuments, and nobody's been arrested, and nobody's going to get any jail time. It's not January 6th because Ashley Babbitt wasn't shot and killed while unarmed mercilessly by a racist Lieutenant Byrd of the U.S. Capitol Police. Got to bring in the Capitol Police if you really want people shot and killed for no reason, I think. Fascinating stuff. But amazing, amazing things going on. President Trump on Capitol Hill today. And the Democrats are like, oh, no. And that means the news media, too. Oh, no, we're having flashbacks because it was one of like 550 riots in a 2-year period. And it was one of the least violent of all the riots, especially if you don't count Ashley Babbitt being shot and killed, murdered by a racist police officer. The Democrats loved that one, though, because it was a black cop, a white woman, unarmed, served 12 years in the United States Air Force, honorably, but never mind any of that. Remarkable stuff. And the Democrats loved it. That's a police shooting, a fatal police shooting that they loved. They just loved it. And amazing. And now President Trump goes to Capitol Hill. And again, the White House, that's the 3-day siege of the White House where they set St. John's Church on fire, the Church of the President's 1815 church or whatever it is. And what else did they? Oh, they set the only building in Lafayette Park on fire, burned it real good. That was on fire. M80s for the police, frozen water bottles for the police, 160 to 180 injured. And nobody was sentenced to a day in jail because the news media told us it was mostly peaceful and they were exercising their First Amendment rights. See, the First Amendment has 5 elements, 5 components, and one of them is petitioning your government. I think on January 6th, what they were doing was it was the right to assemble, right? Free speech, that's 2 of them, and petition your government, that's 3 of the elements of the First Amendment. Right? Your right to freely practice your religion and a free press are the other elements of the First Amendment. But the Democrats, they don't believe in the Bill of Rights or the First Amendment or the Second Amendment. And God, they're anti-Semites, aren't they? Even their Semites are anti-Semites. Just amazing. And now they're attacking President Trump because he's going to Capitol Hill where he's meeting with members of Congress, Republicans, because the Democrats are too dangerous to meet with, and the Secret Service probably wouldn't allow him to be in the same room. Democrats are violent, they're criminal, they're dangerous. Election 2024. Trump will return to Capitol Hill to meet Republican lawmakers. The Associated Press typing up the story on behalf of the Democrat Party with a picture of President Trump in the back of an SUV limousine looking kind of sinister. That's the abuse of photos they select key. Donald Trump is making a triumphant return to Capitol Hill on Thursday. Yeah, wait till November and January. Meeting with House and Senate Republicans, his first since urging a mob to, quote, fight like hell, end quote. They never quote him saying to peacefully and patriotically let your voices be heard. They never quote that. They just say fight like hell. The Democrats, they're out there burning and overturning police cars and sacking and looting and plundering and injuring cops and shooting people all over the place. How many mass shootings have we had in D.C. in the last week? Well, some of them were just 3 people. Technically, a mass shooting is 4 people or more. But in D.C., we had a shooting with 3 people yesterday, I think 4 people the day before, 3 people the day before that. It's not even news. It's just perfectly normal, just normal stuff. So his first cinch urging a mob to fight like hell ahead of the January 6, 2021 attack. You guys never cite the June 1st attack on the White House. What's with that, 2020? Oh, that's because Trump was living in the White House. Now I remember. GOP lawmakers find themselves newly energized and reinvigorated by his bid to retake the White House. Despite the federal charges against Trump, honestly, we've got to have charges against Joe Biden just for rhetorical purposes, I think. There are plenty of things to charge him with, and his family, the shakedown in Ukraine and getting the prosecutor fired, that it was investigating Hunter Biden, and he was fired and they stopped investigating Hunter Biden, kept paying him $1 million a year for nothing. Nothing to see there. I'm telling you. So the just amazing stuff here. So the president is headed to Capitol Hill today, and the news media sees it as an opportunity to attack him and to talk about January 6th. Yet they never talk about all the Democrat Party riots, hundreds of them, billions in property damage, according to the insurance industry, thousands of police injured. But never mind any of that. They're terrified. Oh, no, Trump might return to power. He might be reelected. Then what would happen? Well, I mentioned Brian Seltzer-water, but let's go to Rachel Maddow from 2016 when President Trump, running for president, defeated Hillary Clinton. It was hilarious. Rachel Maddow was very afraid. Now, again, the Democrats today, well, it was yesterday, New York City train, raise your hand if you're Zionists. This is your last chance to get off this train. Deutschland, Deutschland, über alles. The Democrat Party should. Lola is their theme song, Walk like a woman, but talk like a man. That was Lola. But they should make it Deutschland über alles because they're bringing back the old days, aren't they? Of the Socialist Workers' Party. Rachel Maddow, living in fear in 2016.
Rachel, Alicia, you wants to know, if you booked Donald Trump on your show, what would your first question be?
Are you going to send me or anybody that I know to a camp?
Now, honestly, the Democrats are putting Peter Navarro in prison from the Trump White House, putting Steve Bannon in prison from the Trump White House, trying to put Trump himself in prison from the Trump White House. They are jailing their political enemies. Everybody from the Capitol Hill riot, which went on for like an hour and a half. Most people just walked through the Capitol. Grandmothers praying or being given years in prison. You guys are the fascists. You're the Nazis. You're the Hitlers. And are you going to put me in camps? Yes, but it's a sleepover camp, and you get the top bunk, and it's a girls' camp. So it should be a lot of fun. And she's back to this again, the camps thing. She's saying it again in another interview. MSDNC's Rachel Maddow is worried she'll be put in one of Trump's massive camps This is from day before yesterday. I'm worried about me. Well, you're a self-centered, spoiled brat who's been raised in the greatest country in the world to do whatever you want, whenever you want, and you're paid $30 million a year for doing almost nothing. Maddow is concerned she'll be targeted if Trump wins re-election. He was already president for 4 years. You were wetting your diapers when he was elected the first time, and did anything happen to you? And I guess that's because she's gay. She's a lesbian. She's L and she's G. She might be B. I don't think she's B, though. I think she's L and G, right? And you were afraid last time, and he was president for 4 years, and you couldn't have been more ignored by the American people who didn't watch your show, but NBC still pays you $30 million a year. That's an actual figure, by the way. That's not just being bandied about, and she is supposed to do one show a week, 1 hour a week. Remarkable stuff. But now she's at it again, and there are headlines all over the place from day before yesterday that she's in a panic again about Trump being reelected. And she really, I think it's a sexual fantasy of some kind that she be sent to a camp, a sleepover camp, because they're demented. And then, interestingly enough, Brian Seltzer-water, a.k.a. Uncle Fester, a.k.a. Humpty Dumpty, he's back, if you can believe that. And now he doesn't work for CNN anymore, so nobody knows what he does. But Brian Seltzer, he took to the microphone to talk about Rachel Maddow's concerns because the demented, paranoid, self-important gang of sexually, whatever they are, confused people, amazing stuff. Humpty Dumpty, a.k.a. Uncle Fester, Brian Seltzer, no longer of CNN.
Rachel Maddow's not the only member of the media thinking about this. I've talked to the heads of news organizations, CEOs of media companies that are thinking through, not in dramatic fashion, not because they're afraid of going to jail, but because they want to know what could Trump do to use his power in a second term to punish the media.
To punish the media. The media must be punished because, now, what did he do the last time around? Now, you guys kicked Simon Atiba out of the White House briefing room because Simon Atiba, an African reporter, was asking questions that made the dim-witted White House press secretary uncomfortable. And so first they stopped taking questions from him. And now I believe he's been banned altogether. Certainly he will never get another question in the White House briefing room while Joe Biden is living in the White House. Isn't that extraordinary? And they're actually making news. Brian Seltzer-water, news organizations preparing for ways Trump might punish the media. And yesterday we figured out what it might be, and it's the old-fashioned method.
You must tie her down on a bed and spank her. It's spanking! It's spanking! You must spank her well, and after you have spanked her, you may deal with her as you like, and then spank me. And spank me? And me? And me? Yes, you must give us all a good spanking.
They're lining up outside of Trump's offices now. They're hoping Trump will be elected so that they can be punished. Punish me. Spank me. No, spank me. The Democrat Party really have reanimated Monty Python in so many different ways, haven't they? Veteran media reporter Brian Seltzer said that those leading news media organizations are preparing for ways a second Trump administration could leverage government interference to punish the media. He was already president for 4 years. They don't take questions from James Rosen at Newsmax in the Biden White House briefing room. They don't take questions from Simon Atiba. They're punishing the media now. They're always projecting on other people what they themselves are doing or will be doing. It's the Soviet playbook. These are very, very corrupt people, dishonest people, mentally limited people, self-important people, dishonest people, and, let's be honest, not very attractive people. Hey, are you tired of having to buy those expensive HEPA filters over and over again, replacement filters for your air purifiers? Well, say goodbye to nasty home odors and to those expensive filters with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier. The Thunderstorm eliminates bad smells in your home and your office, and replacement filters are a thing of the past because they've got oxy technology, and odors in your home will disappear in just a matter of seconds. Nasty smells from dirty laundry and cooking and in-laws and even left-wing protesters are no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier. We've got 2 of them at home. They're only this big. You can hold one in your hand. No more expensive filters to buy. Saves you money, saves you hassle. Just turn them on and forget about it. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm quietly works to clean the air in your home or your office. Honestly, place a thunderstorm in your bedroom, your family room, your kitchen, your basement. They make great gifts, too. And right now, you can get $200 off a 3-pack today for whole home protection. All you have to do is visit EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3. That's me, CHRIS and the number 3. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. They are too crazy, and the media is the dumbest, most corrupt institution in America. And they're self-important, too. They should, a Trump White House coming in should do what the Biden White House has done and just kick people out of the White House briefing room if they don't like the questions they ask. That's what Biden does, and the media is fine with that. They're just great with that. So we'll just apply the Biden rules in the Trump White House. How's that, girls? Yeah, and I'm speaking to the boys. We've got some crazy new CNN audio about President Trump visiting on Capitol Hill. These people really need mental help across the board. Right now, let's take a phone call. Let's go to Jim, calling from Indianapolis, Indiana. Jim, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Jim.
Thanks for taking the call.
You bet.
Rachel Maddow is not worried about herself. The left are not worried about themselves. They're projecting what they are going to do to us if Biden wins another round.
Well, again, they're already kicked Simon Tiba, the African reporter, out, who asked good questions as a reporter. And they're not taking questions at the White House from the Newsmax reporter, James Rosen, formerly of Fox News, great news reporter. And as a rule, they don't take questions from him. They freeze him out. They love their friendly reporters, you know?
But they're going to put us in concentration camps. That's what they're telling us right now.
Well, and, when they talk about, you're right, oh, yeah, and Maddow is saying, going to put us in camps, while at the same time they're taking over subway trains in New York, saying, raise your hand if you're a Zionist. This is your last chance to get off the train. This is the mainstream of the Democrat Party in New York City in 2024. Now, our news media is the most filthy, corrupt institution in the United States of America. And Jim Acosta proved it again. Jim Acosta is still employed. They got rid of Uncle Fester, Brian Seltzer-water, but they kept Jim Acosta. I think they might have given him his own show, but nobody's aware of it because it's on CNN and nobody watches CNN. But they got that. And I got to play what he was on the television saying just a few minutes ago about President Trump on Capitol Hill. And I need to set it up a little bit for you because I did something that Jim Acosta is not capable of doing, not a very bright man. President Trump was up on Capitol Hill, and he told a story to make a point about our open borders, right? Now, let me take you back in time, if I could. A few weeks now, back in May 13th, maybe May 12th was the rally in New Jersey that President Trump held on the beach. And you remember this? And 100 million people showed up. I think it was more than 100,000 people. It was a huge thing on the beach in Wildwood, New Jersey. And President Trump, speaking to the massive crowd, was talking about our open borders and how there are all these reports that the jails and the mental institutions in Venezuela, for example, have been emptied out. And they just sent them our way, and all the Venezuelan gangs in New York and the violent crimes and all this stuff. So President Trump, with the big crowd, he loves to tell a story. And he's telling the story about the dangers of our open borders and the reports that Venezuela and other countries emptying out their jails and their mental institutions, sending them to the United States as Castro did in Cuba during the Mariel boat lift, and he really did empty his prisons and empty their mental institutions and sent everybody to the United States. The Cuban crime wave and all that stuff, Scarface, Tony Montana, all that good stuff. But President Trump in Wildwood, New Jersey, with a giant crowd on the beach and I think it was May 12th.
Because they're taking people from insane asylums and from mental institutions. You know what the difference is, right? An insane asylum is a mental institution on steroids. Silence of the Lambs. Has anyone ever seen The Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter.
He's a
wonderful man. He oftentimes would have a friend for dinner. Remember the last scene? Excuse me, I'm about to have a friend for dinner. Is this poor doctor walked by? I'm about to have a friend for dinner, but Hannibal Lecter. Congratulations, the late, great Hannibal Lecter. We have people that are being released into our country that we don't want in our country.
So he's talking about open borders, right? And then he draws on a cultural reference that most people are familiar with, Silence of the Lambs, the book, and then the movie, and, Clarice, and Still Hear the Screaming of the Lambs, and all this good stuff. Great cultural touchstone that President Trump draws on very casually, not from the teleprompter. He's just talking about the open border. And he's told this story before, and he tells it as a cautionary tale having to do with an open border and countries that are hostile to you, sending our way all their psychopaths, right? So he's talking about Hannibal Lecter, and he's like doing it as shtick, and he's talking about we've got these open borders, and these countries that are hostile to us are emptying their insane asylums and mental institutions and their prisons and sending them this way, and he's like Hannibal Lecter, and he's doing a wonderful man, right? Okay, so today President Trump is up on Capitol Hill, and he is meeting with Republicans up there. And by the way, I should just mention this because it's a story I talked about at the time. But the immigration people out of Boston arrested a Brazilian man that was working at somebody's house, I think in New Hampshire, and the Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO, naturally, Boston, for the Immigration and Customs. They arrested a Brazilian man who had been convicted of 11 murders in Brazil and had been sentenced to more than 200 years in prison for this 2015 Brazilian massacre, right? And this guy, Antonio Jose de Ebro Vidal Filho, 29 years old, was an Interpol notice was put out about him because he had been sentenced to 275 years and 11 months, just for good measure, for 11 murders, a massacre. And then he was just hanging out in New England working at somebody's house when he was arrested by the removal people. And this was in August of last year, August of 2023. 11 murders. And this could be the guy that President Trump's talking about when he talks about, and this guy escaped from prison in Brazil, made his way to the United States, and was minding his own business, working at somebody's house, I think in New Hampshire, when he was arrested by ERO, because we got to call it ERO. And they got him in Rye, New York. Excuse me, Rye, New Hampshire. Right, there's a Rye in New York also. Rye, New Hampshire is where they arrested him, and he was working at somebody's house. So that's kind of what President Trump is talking about, the open borders, very dangerous. Now, President Trump is on Capitol Hill today, and apparently he was talking to Republicans about open borders and the dangers of open borders. And Jim Acosta, who is a fake reporter for CNN, he was on the television just a short time ago on CNN this morning talking about President Trump on Capitol Hill. And this is as far as his reporter skills bring him.
I will note from our Melanie Zanona, who is in the room and sending some of these tidbits out, apparently the former president made reference to Hannibal Lecter and said, nice guy, quote, he even had a friend over for dinner. So we've seen Trump out on the campaign trail praising Hannibal Lecter. Apparently he did it again this morning. Not sure we fully understand the context of that. But
well, I just spent like 90 seconds researching it, and I found it, but you're intellectually lazy, journalistically lazy, intellectually dishonest, journalistically dishonest. You're a fraud, a charlatan, a fake. You're not a journalist. You're a hack, a Democrat Party hack. You may recall he wasn't kicked out of the Trump briefing room, was he? He was because he just came in and screamed and yelled like he was having a mental breakdown, like Hannibal Lecter. He was a severe mental case. And since we're talking about open borders, there are a lot of open border stories to talk about because, again, Immigration Customs Enforcement and the FBI arrested eight people who are affiliated with the Islamic State, that is ISIS, and they were arrested in Los Angeles, in Philadelphia, and in New York City, all of which are sanctuary cities run by Democrats as sanctuary cities. And these 8 members of ISIS were grabbed there from Tajikistan. And this story is really quite remarkable. 8 people from Tajikistan with suspected ties to the Islamic State arrested in the U.S. Sources say nature of the suspected ties, ISIS, and not immediately clear because the news media wants to defend the terrorists. But the individuals were being tracked by the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. They were waved into the country. Now let's go to this is the FBI director Christopher Wray testifying on Capitol Hill about a month ago now. And he was asked about the open border and whether there was a terrorist threat regarding the open border on Capitol Hill under oath about a month ago.
We've seen the threat from foreign terrorists rise to a whole nother level. On top of that, increasingly concerning is the potential for a coordinated attack here in the homeland, not unlike the ISIS-K attack we saw at the Russia Concert Hall back in March.
Not unlike that. That was actually about a week ago, not about a month ago, June 4th, that took place. And just amazing. So the FBI director said, major foreign terror threat. And by the way, these people that committed that massacre, 140 some odd people at the theater in Moscow, that was ISIS-K out of Tajikistan. And then we learned just a couple of days ago that ISIS-K out of Tajikistan had 8 operatives come in across our southern border, and they took up residence in 3 sanctuary cities and then had to be rounded up and arrested. And by the way, they were listening to their phones. I assume we gave them free cell phones or something. The arrest took place in New York, Philadelphia, Los Angeles. The individuals who entered through the southern border are being held on immigration violations. And the people who are not authorized to discuss the ongoing investigation by name spoke to the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity because everything's a secret. Isn't that amazing? Now, a Democrat city councilman in New York City by the name of Robert Holden, and he's a Democrat, and he's on the city council in New York City. And he found out about these ISIS-K people being arrested in New York, Philly, and Los Angeles.
We didn't learn a lesson from 9/11 in New York City. We'll never learn a lesson. It's frightening, and we're headed for another 9/11. I think we should have a secure border. We should know who's coming into our country. We don't, and millions of migrants and illegal aliens have gotten through. So it's a situation that we're just, really rolling the dice here.
Yeah, that's rolling the dice. And it's, again, they don't care about human life. They don't care about your life. They don't care about the lives of Americans. That's the Democrat Party. They really don't care about human life. They're the left, and they're chanting, raise your hand if you're a Zionist on New York City subway trains. This is your last chance to get off the train. This is the Democrat Party. And then our news media, they're obsessed with what? With Donald Trump telling the same story about, our open border. We're waving Dr. Lecter into the country. I had a friend for dinner. These are cultural touchstones, these references to the movie that most people have seen and most people know. It usually makes quite an impression on people. But the Tajik terrorist suspects illegally crossed the border into San Diego was let in by officers, according to multiple sources. And the New York Post had the story. And Jenny Tare, the reporter there, an actual news reporter, unlike Jim Acosta at CNN. a Democrat member of Congress named Greg Cesar, who is from Texas, was asked on Capitol Hill yesterday by Fox News' Hillary Vaughn about this open border thing.
Do you think that President Biden's border policies are putting Americans at risk for another 9/11?
We should obviously arrest and detain people that commit terrorist acts, and so
racist.
I think that obviously it's really important for us to address the issues here that it is that you and others have raised. At the same time, we should be making sure that we have both a secure and humane border policy.
It's got to be humane. Let's make it humane enough to keep the jihadis Tajikistan out before the next mass murder. What do you think? He sounded rational for a moment. But, well, we don't want to because kids in cages, which was Barack Obama that put the kids in cages. Then they harvested their organs. Amazing stuff. All right, they didn't actually harvest their organs, but the unborn, they do. They do. And then a Democrat congressman from California, Alex Padilla, also talking to Hillary Vaughn of Fox News.
You don't think President Biden has any responsibility for the fact that terrorists are being allowed into this country?
So the fact that they were identified and detained and we know where they are is them doing their job.
Yeah, that's great. See, we arrested 8 more from the open border. See, we're doing our job. You know, you're the people who are anti-immigration customs enforcement, and you're pro-FBI as long as they're corrupt and doing the work of the Democrat Party for you. Just amazing stuff. I am telling you. And I haven't even gotten to the Democrats, the Biden people with their plan. Actually, well, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go do this now. Harris Faulkner, number 7 on the Fox News channel, stirred up some trouble with the left-wing crazy people, because she's talking about this Democrat program they have where they're handing out contraceptives and beer in exchange for votes in addition to other things. And I think somebody threw in a dental dam. Harris Faulkner yesterday.
If they become the majority, we're in trouble. I mean, do you want people whose motto is, and they took this right out of the 50s and 60s, battle by day, love at night, which needs birth control and dental dams and food.
Dental dams and food. The Washington Post is very upset. Democratic efforts to lure young voters include beer and birth control. This is an endorsement by the Washington Post. The donor-funded experiment targets younger voters in major metropolitan areas of a few key swing states. If they do vote, tend to favor Democrats. And here's a picture of a woman handing out birth control devices. Again, it's like Saturday Night Live on the campus of where is the University of Phoenix? It was a university in Phoenix anyway. And they're handing out contraceptive devices to these young women on the campus, saying, hey, don't forget to vote Democrat because, birth control, something like that. Just amazing stuff.
They told us that in America, many American park rangers distribute birth control devices. Poor foxes. Every time they are having sex, they must go to the closest national monument.
Honestly, the Democrats, their Monty Python, their Saturday Night Live, Sean Hannity jumped in on this too. The Democrats handing out stuff in exchange for votes.
Meanwhile, Democrats are trying to win back younger voters with beer and birth control. Free beer, free birth control, and I guess free college tuition. Vote for us.
Don't let the Democrats near the kids, honestly. They're going to give them beer. Why do you think they need all this birth control? It's because the Democrat adults getting around. It's a crazy time to be an American. That's for sure. Birth control, dental dams, and food. Not sure there really are dental, but there might be. It's a form of something or other. And the news media's headline is, Sean Hannity unwittingly cuts an ad for the Democrats, says they're offering beer and birth control and free college in exchange for votes. You're a Democrat party. Joe Biden is in Italy at the G7, the group of 7 industrialized nations. And he's talking again about building a train in Africa from Angola to the Indian Ocean, which is an improvement because last time he was talking about building a train under the Indian Ocean or over the top of the Indian Ocean or some lunacy because he's not very well. I'm telling you. Also, President Trump on Capitol Hill, even as we speak. And Manu Raju, another fake reporter for fake CNN. As Trump arrives on Hill, House Republicans sing happy birthday to him. Tomorrow is his birthday. And give him game, ball, and bat from their victory in the congressional baseball game last night. Per Annie Grayer. Per Annie Grayer, they say. And so they sang happy birthday because tomorrow is his birthday. And they gave him, because the Republicans won the baseball game last night, 31 runs. 31 runs. I mean, you can't make enough fun of these people. They make more fun of themselves than anyone could really fairly make of them. Pretty extraordinary stuff. But President Trump's birthday is tomorrow. And I believe he turned 78 years old tomorrow. So I think he's 77 years old right now. And he turns 78 tomorrow. I believe that's correct. And so they sang happy birthday, and they gave him the game ball and the game bat, which is pretty cool, I got to say. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yes, sir. And it's hilarious that the Republicans won 31 runs to 11. I'm not sure if any baseball game has ever, what is that? Let me see, that's 42 runs, and the Republicans got 31 of them. That's pretty amazing. They're as athletic as you might think. They were pretty embarrassing last night.